Good morning. Oh, excuse me. Just making sure this is live, and it is. So my husband says to me this morning, are you not going to clean up a little bit? And I said, well, I pulled my hair back. So you guys are getting the raw, original me. I've been up for a couple of hours now, but I haven't done a whole lot other than cook a little breakfast. Okay, so I hope everybody's doing good. I am going to jump right into our lesson. I'm going to try to keep this under 15 minutes. But let me switch screens real quick so I can see what's going on. Everything looks good. We'll switch over to this screen. Okay, so today we're talking about... Y'all, I am so sorry. I haven't been coughing at all. I don't know what this deal is. I feel like I'm choking on my own spit. I'm not coughing sick coughing. Okay, so today we're talking about rectangles, all right? So that's what we're discussing, rectangles. And we know that rectangles are parallelograms, right? Parallelograms. If any parents happen to be watching this, I can't spell. I'm a terrible speller. So just know that I'm probably going to spell things wrong. Okay, so parallelograms, that's what a rectangle is. So a rectangle is a parallelogram. So it has to meet the criteria of being a parallelogram, which means here's things that we know about it. We know that it has two sets of parallel and congruent sides. So we know that because we've been studying parallelograms, so we know what that means. We know that the diagonals bisect each other. Diagonals bisect each other. We know that. We know that the diagonal angles excuse me. I am so sorry. I do not even know what this is. I am so sorry. I'm not sick. There's nothing sick about me. Why I'm doing this weird coughing, I don't know. Okay. So the diagonal angles are congruent, right? And then we know that the consecutive angles are supplementary, all because it's a parallelogram, right? Well, then there are some criteria that makes it a rectangle. And you know most of this already. You know that a rectangle has 4 90-degree angles, right? And that leads right back to this and this, that the diagonal angles are congruent and the consecutive angles are supplementary, right? Because 90 degrees is congruent to 90 degrees, so the diagonals will be congruent. And then 90 plus 90 is 180, so that works out too. Y'all, if y'all hear my dogs play fighting down here, I'm sorry. Y'all too, quit. Okay. Now this is something. Oh my gosh, I'm doing a cough again. Oh my goodness, I don't even know. I haven't got choked this morning or anything. Okay, so I know maybe it's because I haven't been talking like this. I pretty much didn't speak yesterday other than to tell my dogs to stop. So another thing that you need to know about rectangles is that their diagonals, remember those lines that go across the shape, their diagonals are congruent. Now remember, that's not the case in every parallelogram, but in rectangles, the diagonals are congruent. They bisect each other and they are congruent. Okay, so let's take this information and let's go apply it to some problems, all right? So if we look at number 1 right here, I'm going to make this a little bigger. Okay, so if we look at number 1 right here, it says if AC is 2x plus 13 and DB is 4x minus 1, find DB. So if we look at this diagram, so AC is a diagonal, right? And DB is a diagonal. And we just said that those diagonals are going to be congruent to each other. So we would set this up as 2x plus 13 equals 4x minus 1. And then we would solve it, right? Now, I'm not going to go through the steps of solving the equation. You guys know how to solve equations. However, once we solve that equation and we have the value for x, we're not done because then we have to go back and find out what dB is. Just remember that, okay? Look at number 2. If AC is x plus 3, so AC, once again, we're talking about the diagonal, and DB is 3x minus 19. Once again, we just said the diagonals are congruent. So we're going to set up an equation, x plus 3 equals 3x minus 19. We're going to solve that equation, find the value for x, then use that value for x to plug back in. Hang on, I got to go turn my vacuum cleaner off. So my husband got me a fancy robot vacuum cleaner for Christmas. That was my Christmas gift. And I love it, y'all. It's amazing. It's picking up so much of the Cosmo here. You know, my little dog Cosmo has a lot of hair. Okay. So then we plug it back into AC to solve it, okay? So look at number 3. Number 3 says if AE is 3x plus 3. So AE is this part of the diagonal, right? Let me move this over just a hair. AE is this part of the diagonal. And EC is this part of the diagonal. And we know that the diagonals bisect each other. So that means that these two parts have to be congruent. So we're going to set up another equation where 3x plus 3 equals 5x minus 15. Solve. Okay, this one's going to be a little trickier. We're going to solve for x. We're going to find the value for x. Then once we find the value for x, pay attention to what they're asking for. So they asked for AC. AC is the whole thing, not just a piece of it. So you'll plug it back into one of these equations, but then you got to double it because it's asking for the whole diagonal, not just part of the diagonal. Okay? Number 4, they are giving you DE, which is half of a diagonal. And they're giving you AE, which is half of a diagonal, but not the same diagonal. Now, in a regular parallelogram, we wouldn't be able to say these are congruent. However, because this is a rectangle, because they told us it's a rectangle, because it is a rectangle, we can say those are congruent because the diagonals are congruent. And then they bisect each other. So that means all 4 pieces of the diagonals are congruent. So we'll set up that equation again. 6x minus 7 equals 4x plus 9. Right? Okay, we'll solve that for x. Then it's asking us to find dB. So pay attention to what they're asking you to find. They're going to try to trick you on this, so pay attention. So now we get into some angle business, all right? So number 5. If the measure of angle DAC, so DAC is this angle right here, right? DAC is 2x plus 4. And the measure of angle BAC is 3x plus 1. And you know what? I just realized that we did not discuss was how the diagonals affect the angles. So the diagonals of a rectangle not only bisect each other, they also bisect the angles. So what that means is each one of these angles is 45 degrees. It also means they're congruent to each other. Okay, so let's talk about how these angles, so what do we know about them? Well, we know that they add up to 90. That's what we know, right? So they gave us these values of 2x plus 4, 2x plus 4, and 3x plus 1, and we know that those add up to 90 degrees. So once again, we're going to set up that equation, we're going to solve that equation, and then we're going to use our value for x to find BAC. So remember, I'm not going over the algebra part of this. Y'all know that. I'm just going over the geometry part so that you know how to do the geometry. So if you look at number 6, if the measure of BDC is 7x plus 1, BDC, that's this angle right here. BDC is 7x plus 1. And ADB, that's this angle right here. What do we know about them? They add up to 90. Y'all see how this works, right? I don't need to go through every one of these with you. You see how it works. Those two angles add up to 90. So you're going to set up your equation where 7x plus 1 plus 9x minus 7 equals 90 degrees. Okay? Now, on your assignment for today, on your practice assignment, let me see if I can open that up real quick. Where do I have it? Oh, I have it right here. So on your practice assignment today, you're going to be required to do 1 through 12. You're going to be required to do 1 through 12. I'm not going to make you do the bottom part of this just because I didn't give you any graph paper to take home with you. And so I don't want you to have to worry about trying to find graph paper to graph them. Okay? Okay. I hope you guys are staying safe and healthy and well. And I will see you.